All right. Now, of course, much attention is on whether these candidates can succeed in their respective debates, whether it's the big one on Thursday night or the one prior to that on Thursday afternoon. Who resonates with prospective voters? But I always look at the money side of this. I think this is a showcase event for donors, for money. And for that, I've got Charlie Gasparino, Trish Regan on how that debate could affect that debate. And I think, you know, especially for those who weren't invited to that Koch brothers summit, this is
including Trump. Didn't get the invite.
Exactly. Not that I think he would need it, but Chris Christie didn't either. But I'm wondering if this is a chance for them to say, I'm viable and I've got a message and give me some money.
Yeah. No, I mean, these guys, they need money, right? So I think we can probably anticipate that we're going to see some good things out of Bush, some good things out of Walker.
I don't know.
You've
Bush
already
was a little flat-footed yesterday. But
well, you know, we've already seen
debate does not.
They're the establishment, right? So the established candidates, they have some wind behind them. Outside of that, I mean, you know, maybe who are the others that could really pick up some opportunity here? I mean, I think Ted Cruz and Rand Paul are so closely identified with the Tea Party that they might struggle to get sort of the more serious.
And that's what it is. It's a
them.
tryout for some of those donors, right?
Yeah, you know, I disagree a little bit with the premise here. I don't think money is going to be an issue in this election. I mean, I think
for some of them, it's going to be.
Maybe for the very lower tier ones, maybe like, and I would say maybe Ben Carson. And I don't mean he's lower tier intellectually. He's obviously the best intellectually of all of them.
The ones that are not doing as
well. But the ones that are not polling as well, the bottom tier candidates maybe. But this will not be an election where money will matter, especially the primaries will matter, because there's so many billionaires.
And a lot of them have the money.
And, you know, Chris Christie's backed up by Langone, right? Billionaire. Rubio has Blackstone. You know, Wayne Berman and the Blackstone Republican partners, you know, giving him money, so that's no problem. Jeb has his own immense fundraising abilities, and Donald Trump is rich. And if you get
I'm looking at those tertiary characters. I'm looking at those, the ones who could use this as a chance to say, hey, did you forget about me? You're saying it's not going to move the needle no matter what.
I don't think so. I mean, I think what Donald Trump has done, and again, I still think this is a branding exercise for Donald, and until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to say that. And it's an amazing branding exercise. He's basically taken all the wind out of those second-tier, very conservative candidates and basically made the top tier the game. And I don't think in that top tier money matters. They all got money.
Kasich, I would watch him very carefully because I think he needs money if he's really going to start to gain any momentum.
Well, but, you know, there are gradations of money.
Listen,
it's a few million versus tens of millions.
Neil, he will get it. The Koch brothers, if he looks like he's viable, Koch brothers will back him up. He will get a billionaire. You know, he'll get
Well, Chris
money.
Christie has $3 billion.
Yeah, he's going to get. I'm just telling you, John Kasich.
Well, let me
John
flip that
Kasich
around.
won't lose because
let
of money.
me flip that around. Despite his dismissal of this whole segment, I would look at it, Trish. I would look at it, Trish, and say there are so many who have so much money, or certainly more money than we would have ever thought possible, that they drag this process out much longer and later than would normally be the case, and it denies a clear nominee by convention time.
Well,
you're pivoting.
It's an interesting
because of that money, and some of the others who now get in the money race or get a little bit more, they can stay in a little bit longer too.
And what does it do to someone like Trump, who's doing so well right now? In other words, can the others outlast him?
This is not money.
If it goes for that long.
Well, Trump isn't going to need money.
Trump's not going to need money. Like I said, I don't think this election, except for the lower tier candidates, is about money. This primary will be about how they're going to get around Trump, how they're going to stand out from the crowd. I mean, they all have their billionaire backers. Just let me make this point. What Donald did quite brilliantly, and I think I'd like to know who his pollster was, and maybe it was just in his head because he's such a smart guy. He basically said, if I hit these 3 or 4 wedge issues, I'm going to pull out and suck the air out of Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and, you know, anybody else to the right
for now. I mean, you argue he's just showcasing a marketing effort here.
I think in the end, Donald Trump is going to sell The Apprentice for more money to somebody else.
And let me just qualify that. It's not who can outlast who in terms of money. When it comes to Trump, it's can the others outlast him? In other words, does he just become so hot that he burns out at some point? Does he have a
signs of that right now.
Howard Dean-like moment?
Remember
Howard Dean doing great, and then there was that scream, and it all went downhill?
Yeah, but, you know, Donald is more media savvy than that. And you know, he's been practicing this, and he understands like where his sort of nastiness, you know, what it does. And I will say this about him. What I find brilliant is that he understands that when you apologize for saying something a little bit politically correct, it's worse than
oh, you're hounded.
It's worse than just saying it. And he's played this.
But you dismissed Donald Trump at the outset.
No, I don't dismiss him.
No, you just talk about someone who's not apologizing.
I say he's a brilliant.
You dismissed him
as a candidate, not as a brilliant businessman, which is what he is. And
he will be the next king of the world.
The White House, the apprentice in the White House. Can you imagine what that's going to be like? I think he's brilliant in a business way, and the bottom line is this.
Do you think he's a flash in the pan?
No, I don't at all. I think that he's resonating with a lot of people across both sides of the aisle here. We're talking about blue-collar Democrats that like him.
The bigger question is why?
A lot of Republicans.
Why is he resonating? I mean, think about what the Republican Party is right now. The Republican Party, mainstream Republican voters, are so mad. They hate the establishment.
And we gave these reasons why he's resonating. You think it's a marketing effort for The Apprentice?
Yes, I do. And he got a pollster and said, tell me the 3 hot-button issues that everybody...
He didn't get any pollster.
So you think he made up himself?
Absolutely.
Well, then he probably
he's going with his gut.
Yeah. And then who's going to buy The Apprentice?
All right, now you're going to be talking about this with
George Pataki.
There's a guy who could use any sort of light, and then this might be an opportunity. Right?
It might be an opportunity. I'm sure he's looking at it just like that. He represents a little bit more of the old guard, the more traditional.
Let's be clear.
He called out Trump initially for those comments that he made.
That's because he's a lower tier candidate. This is the epitome of lower tier.
But positions can shift.
Yeah, oh God, please! I love George.
Why is it
Trump is going to be president before George?
With all these?
I know these guys for years.
Fine.
I love him. He's a great guy.
I call you Mr. Gasparino.
He is a class act. We could use a class act in politics.
You know what? He is a class act. That's a good way to put it.
Listen, he is lower. He's the epitome of lower tier in this election.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That was a perfect response. Thank you, Trish. All right, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, we got